All right, on my left here is the Surface Pro 11. This is the standard LCD version. I already looked at the OLED version. I'll put links to my videos for the Surface Pro line for this year in the description below. Nice keyboard cover. This is the standard. We also looked at the Pro Flex one. That was the more expensive one. Of course, this has the raised typing angle, and of course, you can get this with this Surface Pen, Slim Pen 2, right? So this has been working out great. But this comes in at a pretty hefty price tag when you bundle the pen, the keyboard, and of course the unit itself. So that has been a little bit cost prohibitive. It also has some compatibility issues because it's running the Snapdragon X series of processors, of course, the Snapdragon Plus on this one. We already looked at the X Elite. And while great in terms of everyday tasks and stuff like that, and the optimized app for ARM, there are some compatibility issues, some driver issues that you might run into, x86 apps and so forth that may just not work with this. So there are some limitations to this, although the overall package has been excellent. Check out my review. But I have something that is a lot less money, but gives you a lot of the high-end features that you get on the Surface Pro. This is the Chuwi Hi10 Max, and this is a 2-in-1 detachable. You can get the optional keyboard here, and there's also a pen here. So this pen, of course, makes it a complete bundle, and you could do a lot of the same things you can do on this one with this one. Same pen technology, by the way. So you can interchange pens between these. But you're not going to break the bank on this. I think you can get this at around $320, maybe even less, depending when you buy it. I also have a discount code, a 10% discount code that I worked out with Chuwi. Link in the description below. But for $300 or so, you're getting a really great bargain here because you're getting a high-res display. This display, although it is glossy, is a really nice, sharp display. It's got a 2880 by 1920 resolution. That's a 3:2 aspect ratio, the same as a Surface here. But you also get the pen support and everything else that it brings. Now, this is 120 hertz, this is 60 hertz, but again, paying a fraction of the price as you pay for this. So I think this is something pretty intriguing. It also has a pretty nice camera here. 5-megapixel front-facing camera. You also get a nice rear-facing camera as well with autofocus on that. But that's not really why you're buying this. You're buying this to get work done. And I think without this keyboard, there's really no sense in buying this. I think this is a must-have accessory and a pretty nice connection there, although not quite as good as far as that strong connection on this one, but good nonetheless. This keyboard is actually surprisingly good. This actually worked out better than I expected. Good key travel, nice backlight on it, nice touchpad on it. Overall, I was able to do the gestures, everything you need to do with this. So let's find out why I think this one is a really good alternative, especially if you don't want to break the bank and buy something like this. This might come in to take its place. Let's find out why I think this is a great bargain, especially at the price. Hey everybody, it's Andrew, and this is the Chuwi Hi10 Max. Here as we round out 2024 and head into 2025. Coming up. Now, before we get to the unit itself, I just want to let everyone know, in the interest of transparency and full disclosure, I'm not being paid by Chuwi, I'm not being sponsored by Chuwi. All the opinions you're about to hear are my own, and Chuwi is not getting copy approval. Now, Chuwi did provide this review unit for this video. Now, one of the reasons that I was attracted to reviewing this is the price. It comes in at $320, but I do have a discount code that I was able to get from Chuwi. It's a 10% coupon code, AMD Hi Max. So I was able to work that out with Chuwi. I'll leave a link to that in the description below. And of course, I'll also leave a link to the Amazon store where you can get more information. Of course, we can also buy it here in the US. And I would say this is a very good price, especially when you compare it to the much more expensive Microsoft Surface Pro 11. Now, Amazon also has a bundle that you can check out, and I will leave a link to that in the description below, that not only gives you the tablet, but the keyboard with the H7 stylus pen. It comes with 12 gigabytes of RAM and 512 gigabytes of SSD storage, powered by the Intel N100 processor. We saw that before on that very good Chuwi MiniBook X that I looked at, as well as the FreeBook. And that, of course, is a 12th gen processor from Intel that is certainly capable for Microsoft Office, email, web browsing, and the like. And for those that are interested, that discount code and the links for this will be in the description below. And with the specs and pricing out of the way, let's find out what you get inside the box. Okay, so we have the unit itself. We'll get to that in a moment. We get a power charger here, and let's see which one we get. 36 watt power charger, and you can see it there. It is USB Type-C. So pretty similar to what we saw on the MiniBook X and the FreeBook. So pretty good in that regard, I guess. We also have the unit itself right here. So let's get it out of the plastic here. And there she is. And it says Chuwi Hi10 Max. The screen, again, like I said, 2880 by 1920. So it should be, I think, is that a 3:2 aspect ratio? I believe it is. Intel N100, as we talked about, Intel UHD graphics. Keyboard magnetic cover is already on here, and we'll get a look at the keyboard in itself. This folds down like you see here, so it's a little bit different. It doesn't come up from the bottom, and you get a pretty good viewing angle each and every time. So pretty nice so far in terms of the build. It looks pretty good here. Everything looking pretty darn good here. So this keyboard cover comes off. So this is magnetic. And on the back, you see here, it says Chuwi. And I got to tell you, the build quality looks pretty good. And I am very impressed for the price. Now, the way this keyboard cover works is it goes on the back there, but instead of folding out like this, you really are supposed to put it down from this part, the camera part, down like that. And therefore, there it goes like that. So it's a little bit different than the Surface Pro. I thought it was going to be more like the Surface Pro, but it folds down rather than from the bottom up. As you can see, this is a pretty nice Surface. It's very Surface-like, and it looks like it is backlit. Yeah, there's a backlight key on there. It's got a trackpad here. Of course, I don't believe it's haptic or anything like that. No, it's a moving parts, but very Surface-like material on here. So very similar to what we saw already. Keyboard feels pretty darn good, actually. So that's pretty good. We'll get a look at it, and we'll compare it to the Surface Pro 11 that we have here. But when you want to connect it, you just go boom, magnetic connection, and it should angle up here. Oops, and it's not as strong a connection as a Surface. It's okay. And you can angle it. Well, can you angle it up is the question. Doesn't want to stay there, but we'll have to see all that. And then it looks pretty good. So overall, I would say decent here. All right, here we have the Surface Pro 11 running the Snapdragon X Plus with the LCD panel. We also looked at the OLED version, and here you can see the differences. This is more of a throwback to the Surface Pro 4, I believe, era, but nonetheless, the key travel is looking pretty good. This is what we have right now. Of course, the pen is now stored within this keyboard cover here, and of course, they have the flex cover option on the higher end model, of course, that you can get, or the higher end keyboard option. But here you can see that the keyboard layout is pretty similar. This is a very similar type thing. Now, you can angle this one up. This one I'm still trying to figure out. Looks like it wants to do it, but I don't know if there's any magnets there. So it looks like it doesn't stay. At least I'm not sure what's going on with that. But it's a pretty good overall layout, I think, and we'll get a look at it in depth in just a little bit. Now, one difference you'll see between the Surface Pro 11, which is a much more expensive device than this one, is the fact the way the kickstand works. Now, this is integrated into the body of the unit and goes back as far as you see there. This one goes up from the top as opposed from the bottom because the magnetic connection is on the bottom there. And this, of course, comes off. And it sticks magnetically right there. And you just know where it goes. It wants to go to the center and center itself. And you can go back as far as you see there. So that is how that works. A little bit different approach, but I think they both achieve pretty much the same kind of angles and so forth. And with just the unit alone, we're looking at 772 grams, which becomes 1 pound, 11.2 ounces. Okay. Now, let's put it back into kilograms here. And with the keyboard cover, you're looking at 1.008 kilograms or 1,008 kilograms. And that is 2 pounds, 3.5 ounces. And then if we put it back into kilograms here with the keyboard cover here, you're looking at 1.384 or 383 kilograms, and that is 3 pounds, 0.8 ounces. Now, put it back into kilograms one more time, and we add the pen, and then, of course, that brings it to 1.4 kilograms. And with the travel charger, you're looking at 1.558 kilograms, which is 3 pounds, 7 ounces all in. Okay, let's check out the port selection. On the left side are two USB Type-C ports, 3.2 Gen 2, that's 10 gigabits per second. Display port out, also supports power. Both of them are full function. And next to that is a micro HDMI port. Now, moving over to the right side is a USB Type-A port, 3.2 Gen 1. That means it's 5 gigabits per second. And next to that is a 3.5 millimeter microphone headphone combo jack. On the top are some fan outlets, a volume rocker, and as well as your power button. On the bottom is the port for the keyboard cover, and that rounds out the ports. Notably missing no micro SD card slot, so you'll have to use an external adapter or something to expand out storage. And I didn't find a way to get inside this laptop for serviceability or anything like that, swapping out the SSD. So you are pretty much limited to what you get in the time of checkout. And here, of course, that is 512 gigabytes is what they're offering. So just keep that in mind. Now, as far as that SSD is concerned, decent reads and writes, certainly fast enough what you need this detachable to do. Now, to me, the star of the show, without a doubt, is its 12.96-inch IPS multi-touch display. It has a resolution of 2880 by 1920, and yes, that is the same 3:2 aspect ratio as you'd get on the Surface Pro 11, which was more expensive, of course. And as far as brightness, you're going to get more than 400 nits. Actually, I measured 430 nits in my measurements, and that's going to be bright. Now, keep in mind, it is a highly glossy display, so depending on your lighting conditions, you'll notice that glare and reflection. It's got decent coverage of the color gamut. It's pretty color accurate. It's got deep blacks, good white point, good contrast here, and the overall quality of the display is very good. So watching Netflix, Amazon, YouTube has been very good on this panel. Now, of course, it is a 60 hertz refresh rate. It's not 120 hertz like you get on the more expensive Surface Pro 11. So not quite as smooth and fluid as you'd get on that Surface Pro 11 display, but it is good nonetheless. Now, since this is an IPS display, not an OLED, you don't have to worry about things like screen flickering or PWM, which can cause eye strain and stuff like that in some people. So good news here, no PWM. Now, as far as the touch layer, I thought the multi-touch worked very well, pinch to zoom. Everything worked as you'd expect. And I like the fact that it does have the pen layer here. Pen support worked well in terms of taking notes and sketching out artwork. All handled very well here. So this is the front-facing camera on the Chuwi Hi10 Max here. The really great Surface Pro alternative comes in at a great price. There's actually a bundle right now over at Amazon. I'll leave a link in the description below. I think it's a little bit over $300 or so for the keyboard cover and, of course, the unit itself. And that's pretty good because the Surface Pro is a much more expensive device, but I think you're getting a lot of the same features without spending a lot on this, and I think that's great. Now, there's a pen that you can use with this, and of course, the keyboard's actually working out a lot better than I expected. The key travel's been pretty good. Overall quality of the keyboard is pretty good. The display is excellent on this. And what do you think about this camera? Now, I'm shooting this 1440p video on that front-facing camera. There's a rear-facing camera as well. Of course, this is going to be great for those that are doing surveying and stuff like that. I think this is actually pretty good when you think about the audio quality as well. Let me know in the comments section below. And as with the Surface Pro 11, my recommendation is if you're going to get this, the must-have accessory is going to be the keyboard. And if you do a lot of note-taking and stuff like that, then you want to get the pen. The complete package here is still a lot less expensive, or less expensive, I should say, than the Surface Pro 11. Now, the detachable keyboard here is surprisingly good. I found the tactility, the overall key travel, extremely good. And when you compare it to the more expensive Surface Pro 11 keyboard, this really holds its own. In fact, it has a bigger touchpad that I thought was just as responsive than that standard keyboard that we looked at on the Surface Pro 11. Now, of course, that more expensive Pro Flex keyboard that Microsoft offers is a little bit more high-end, of course. Of course, that has a battery. You can use it attached. You can't do any of that with this. However, for the price and what you're getting here, this is more than capable. It's great for typing out long documents, emails, and the like. The touchpad, like I said, worked very well. It's not haptic or anything, but it gets the job done. So really great accessories here. Now, as far as the pen, this is the pen that I would recommend. Of course, it does use the same technology as the Surface Pen, as well as the HP Tilt Pen that I have here in the studio. It also works with the Asus Pen 2.0. So if you have any of those pens, you can go with that. You don't need to spend extra for this pen. This pen worked out pretty well in terms of sketching out artwork, diagrams, everything. It worked pretty well. I had no complaints in terms of the pen. So all together, these are very good accessories. Now, when it comes to performance, and as I mentioned earlier, this is running the Intel Celeron N100, a 12th gen processor that is more than capable. Actually, like I said many times before, punches above its weight class in a lot of ways. Everything was very snappy, very fluid. It's not going to blow you away in terms of sheer raw performance like some other processors, more modern processors, but this one certainly can hold its own. So the things that you're going to do in terms of everyday tasks like Microsoft Office, email, web browsing, consuming media, YouTube, Netflix, stuff like that, this worked perfectly fine. I didn't have any slowdowns or hiccups. And as far as the integrated UHD graphics that this comes with, again, you're not going to be playing AAA titles on this, so I think you got to really temper your expectations. But with that being said, it's a nice travel companion, a nice secondary device, a nice device for a young student. I think this is a really good 2-in-1 detachable for those kind of things. Now, the SSD here is 512 gigabytes, and I didn't find a way to get inside to upgrade it, so you are limited to that. However, you can add external storage and stuff like that, so that's always good. And good news when it comes to the Time Spy stress test, it got a passing score of 99%, meaning it detected virtually no thermal throttling, even when put under heavy load. So that's been pretty good. And now as far as the surface temperatures under heavy load, the underside never got overly hot, even when pushed to the limit here. And when you're doing everyday tasks, everything remained relatively cool. So not any issue in terms of being overly hot on this detachable tablet. And then, of course, the battery here is not the biggest battery out there. And I got 4.5 hours on the PC Mark X Modern Office test, so not the greatest in terms of longevity. So you will carry your power charger to charge during the day. If you need more longevity, you'll have to plug it in. All right, so speaker-wise, the Surface is going to be better. I'm going to tell you that right off the bat. Although this isn't terrible, not great, could use a little bit more bass, maybe a little tinny. But again, I'm not going to fault them too much when it comes in sub $300 or $300 or so. So I'm really not going to fault them that much. This is a much more expensive device. The sound will be better on this. But let's give it a listen. So you be the judge. You let me know what you think in the comment section below. This is not terrible, but it's not great. I mean, let's be clear about that. But let's give them a listen. You let me know what you think in that comment section below. Surface Pro 11. Chuwi Hi10 Max. Okay, let's bring it all home, and I think the Chuwi Hi10 Max here is a great alternative to the more expensive Surface Pro 11, considering you're getting a lot of the high-end features. You're getting a 3:2 aspect ratio display. It is a really nice display with a touch layer, pen support as well. You also get a nice, decent port selection here. You get Wi-Fi 6, not Wi-Fi 7, by the way, but at this price point, I'm not expecting Wi-Fi 7 at this point. And of course, the keyboard cover was surprisingly good. It had a nice backlight on it. The key travel was very comfortable here, really good for typing out long documents, emails, and the like. It comes with 512 gigabytes of SSD storage. I couldn't find a way to service it in terms of getting inside this unit, so you'll have to use external storage for more expandability when it comes to the SSD. And of course, the good cameras here. It's got a really nice front-facing 1440p video in terms of that front-facing camera. The rear camera was actually surprisingly good. I'll give you some samples if you want to see it. I don't really take a lot of video or photos with a rear-facing camera on a tablet, so not much of an interest in my opinion. Very affordable here in terms of the bundle. When you put it with the keyboard and the pen, it comes in at a lot less money than the Surface Pro 11. So this is a really good one here. Of course, the negatives here are going to be it's a short battery life, not really good. It's pretty so-so in that category. You also are not getting the greatest speakers. I would say so-so in that category as well. A little tinny, could use a little bit more bass, but the overall package here, considering the price, gives you a lot of bang for the buck, and I do highly recommend it here as we head into 2025. And don't forget, I do have a discount code for you to use if you want to pick up 10% off with my coupon code. Links will be in the description below.